Hey everyone, this is Chris Keys for Premier Guitar, hanging out in Nashville, Tennessee at the Marathon Music Works with Misha. Misha, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Dude, thank you very much. Misha's from Periphery. That's a good handshake, folks. That's how you do it. Get in there.
For the camera.
You get in there tight.
I'm just saying, but we have the mic pick it up, but I was going to say really messed up stuff to you while we were going to do it.
Damn it. Why would you do that?
I don't know.
It's unprofessional.
It's what you do. That's what our leaders tell us to do. All right. Okay. Let's not go down that path.
We're not going down that road. We're talking guitars,
We're talking guitars today.
Boom. Talk to me about this one. It looks, I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, it's the same but different,
yeah.
Right? I can't say too much about this, but it is a variant on my signature model.
It's made by Jackson.
Made by Jackson. Yes, made in the USA, made by Jackson. I have gone kind of satin, matte, whatever, oil on everything. You know, it's very smooth surfaces. As you can see, this is a gorgeous flame top on Amber Tiger Eye right now. As you can see, it's a very large, substantial top. This one has a gorgeous mahogany body on it, but it doesn't actually weigh that much. But I'd say the pièce de résistance would probably be the caramelized flame maple fretboard and caramelized hard rock maple neck, which is basically cooked, right? So they cook this stuff to get all the moisture out of it. Makes it a little bit lighter, but it also makes it stronger. Basically, with the moisture removed, it's less prone to moving around. So it's an extremely stable combination, and it has proven to be on the road so far.
And you've played the Jacksons for years, and when we did the last one, I think it was 2014 or 2015. But I want to ask a question that's probably answered a bunch. You played Cities, you played Mayonnaise, you played Black Machine. Obviously, you're with Jackson now. So how did you go through all those companies and end up with Jackson, and all those experiences come to make what you have this guitar, and all the experiences and your knowledge of guitar?
I'd say in a lot of ways, those things were market research. In a sense,
yeah.
Because I was able to spec out all these crazy things, test out all these different combinations of specs, these different things, see how I felt about it. Obviously, a lot of this is very personal. So I'd say everything on this guitar is extremely deliberate. I'll actually say something that's kind of not what people expect, but at the end of the day, any good, reputable company can build you a good guitar.
Absolutely.
And build you something that you like. When it comes to sort of endorsements, signature models, it's a business relationship. It's the people you work with. And just like being in a band, or hell, people you work with, it's like you want to get along with them.
Yeah.
Well, I love the dudes at Jackson's. They're just a bunch of guitar nerds. They're all guitar nerds, and they're real with me. They don't just say yes to everything I want, but they also try not to say no to anything. It's always a discussion, and it's always a sort of pragmatic point of view on everything. So it's like, if I want this, they'll be like, okay, but consider that it might cost this, or it might be difficult to source this. So we have very sort of practical conversations about these things, and it's great to have their input, because when something sucks, they'll tell me it sucks, and I trust them because they're guitar nerds. So we just have a really good relationship, and I think that's what allowed us, over the course of 3 years, to design the first sort of iteration of the signature model. And this is a sort of variant that I'm playing around with,
Is there anything on your guitars, like Javier brought up a point when he was talking to Perry, I don't know if this will come in a timeline of that one came before this, but anyways, internet. Javier mentioned that he has a coil tap on his guitar, but it's something he personally uses, and he doesn't find a use for it, but he knows that people that might pick it off the rack might look for a coil tap option. Is that something that, or those type of things that you put into the guitar, or is this really Misha's guitar, and if you like it, you like it, you'll play it, or not?
I'd say it's actually a bit of both, because the things I like by nature they need to be versatile. Yeah. With the music at Periphery, it used to be metal was just kind of you just need good rhythm sound or good lead sound, you're good. We need good everything. Yeah. Good cleans, good mid gains. So everything needs to be that great. So just by nature of what I would want, I'd imagine that you'd end up with a pretty versatile instrument if I design it just out of necessity. Yeah. Beyond that, I'd say things like, for example, the tone knob. This is actually not activated like that because I don't like tone knobs. I very, very rarely use them, and I actually kind of like them out of the circuit, because you lose a little brightness when you introduce a tone circuit. So what I did was I realized some people do like tone circuits, and this was actually Jackson's idea. This is where they come in with their good ideas. They're like, well, some people want tone circuits, so how about we do it where it's bypassed? When you pull it up, then you activate it. So even at full, you'll hear you lose a little bit of brightness. The tone circuit activates, but then you have your tone circuit for the people who actually want it. Yeah. And I have it out of the way, out of the circuit, just direct to the volume. most of the time, you know?
Makes sense.
So these are the little things where, as you say, it's like maybe a bit of a feature set for the average person, but I don't really use that too much, you know?
Cool. And I imagine these have your bare knuckles in it?
They do indeed. These are, now we just released the Ragnarok set, but this has the Juggernaut set in it.
Okay.
Because those had not been released when I spec'd this one out. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, the Juggernaut guitar was sort of something that was, these were designed to go together, and they always did, so, you know, it can't really go wrong with that. I love these pickups, hand wound in the UK by Bare Knuckle, scatter wound, which I think makes a very big difference, and it's just top quality.
Explain that process, that so people that might not know that.
Scatter winding.
Yes.
So basically, it's an art form because you want to get sort of even winds across the range. Obviously, like, pickups are coils round around or wire
around magnets.
Right? So as it spins, you want to kind of have a random effect to how you spool it up, but it has to be even. Tim at Bare Knuckles says it takes about 2 or 3 weeks to train someone to even get one that works.
Wow.
So it's a bit of a process. I tried my hand at it and I was terrible. Because I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I could like wind one of my own pickups. He's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's like if you're here for a month, maybe, you know. But I think it gives the pickups a very open sort of hi-fi top end without actually inducing any harshness into the sound. So just you get sort of more dynamic range out of it. It's something that I would consider sort of a signature aspect of the Bare Knuckle range, and it's something that I definitely want to highlight it in this set. So, how
was the evolution from your first set to now the Ragnarok?
Well, the Ragnarok's almost a response to this. This is, again, as I said about the guitar, it's like versatility.
Yeah.
It has to do everything. I call it like sort of a surgical tool, and it requires a lot of precision. It's a pretty unforgiving pickup because it's extremely dynamic, so it relies very much on your right hand. And I pick very hard, so I like that.
Yeah.
The Ragnarok is kind of a compressed pickup. It's got less of a high-mid thing, more of a low-mid growl to it. It's very aggressive. It's probably the most aggressive pickup in their range. So it's almost a response to this. This is surgical and clean. Like I say, like the Ragnarok's kind of like a sledgehammer.
Okay.
And it's kind of trying to blend a little bit of what's going on with active pickups and how they compress the mid-range specifically. But I'm not a big fan of actives and how they feel and their overall sound. So it was like trying to, you know, ride that line in the middle, and Tim had some very clever ways of putting that together. So I do have some Ragnarok equipped guitars here, and I'm a huge fan. I find that pickup's actually very fun to play on.
And will those guitars have certain songs that they get used for, or like certain, you know, to work towards a certain tone or a song?
A little bit. I haven't been quite as granular with it just yet, because most of our songs are arranged by tuning, and we're trying to bring less and less guitars. But it's kind of worked out to our advantage. The guitar that actually has a Ragnarok is kind of not what you would expect. So I could show you that one as well.
Yeah, let's see it. And before you dismiss this one, what one is like this setup for tuning wise?
So this one is in we normally tune to drop C. That's C, G, C, F, A, D. But we have a set of songs that drops this to an A. So it's A, G, C, F, A, D. You get this interesting relationship where like 0 and 2 will become an octave. So it's almost as if you had a 7-string guitar with a 6th string missing.
Yeah.
And you know, we mess with different tunings. It kind of brings out different sides of creativity.
Yeah.
Or if you have writer's block, it's a good way to
stunt that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this tuning just worked out for us very well, to where we have like quite a few songs that utilize it. So yeah, we have a fair bit of the set that's played with this guitar.
Cool.
But yeah. Let's move on to
absolutely.
Let's move on to something else, which is equally funky, I'd say.
Yeah. Here we go.
So yeah. It needs to be tuned. My apologies. This is not in tune. Anyways, yeah. This is something pretty special.
Yeah.
After sort of designing my dream humbucker guitar, I was like kind of unfazed by anything else that was in that world, you know, in that wheelhouse. And I just got onto this like huge Strat kick. I think it's called getting old, unfortunately. So I'm just becoming a dad rocker, even though I don't have kids. I'm living the dad rock life right now.
Yeah, pretty soon you're gonna have pleated khakis and you tuck into your shirts and stuff.
I thought that looked fantastic for what it's worth. But yeah, like I've been on a huge Strat kick lately. though all these guitars is like set up for like, you know, E standard 10 to 46, and not appropriate for what we're doing. And I kind of went to Jackson and I was like, look, like there's some songs where I think like a Strat would work pretty well. Having the single coil here, I really love the split position, you know, where it's split inner coils here with a middle pickup there. And they were game, and I was like, look, like I'd love for it to look like a Strat, so have the Strat headstock, but have the Jackson logo, you know. And they did this absolutely just gorgeous guitar here. I'm gonna just show you guys like the neck on this.
Yeah, the neck's beautiful.
We got again, it's the cooked maple, flame maple neck through the whole way through. Not neck through, it's a bolt-on, but the whole neck is cooked and flame maple. And it's a wonderful profile. So this guitar is interesting because it's kind of a sleeper. It looks like a relic dad rock guitar, but it's a 20-inch radius with stainless steel frets. This has the Ragnarok in it. It's a very aggressive bridge pickup. Tim sort of custom wound two output and EQ appropriate neck and middle single coils to complement that. And this is just sort of standard Strat, like HSS Strat wiring. You know, I got one of the tone knobs removed because I don't need both of those. I pushed the volume a little bit out of the way. It's always a pet peeve. Like I always end up rolling back the volume knob, so I just kind of put them in a spot I thought would be a bit better. I put the output jack.
I've always had questions about that.
Yeah.
It's like it's an input, but is it
it's
an
not,
output?
it's an output jack. I've been training myself. I'm so proud of myself right now, just saying. Put the output jack, not the input jack. The output jack where it belongs here. Because as you can see, I use these right angle cables, and the deep dish thing doesn't work too well. It's just kind of awkward. So again, this is my sort of bespoke Strat with all the things that I would do to it, like, you know, having like a bit more of a cutaway there, like it's just sort of little subtle tweaks to make it nice, and having the truss rod adjuster here just like on all my guitars. So it's kind of a nice little in between. Got locking tuners. Obviously.
You get the tape on top too there.
That's just tree? Well, yeah. I mean, we've got the string tree here. It's just, you know, to get rid of any excess ringing. Yeah, it's not necessarily the best for tight gating otherwise, right? But the tape does the job. This is the most important part of the guitar. And I've got like the hip shot contour bridge, which is their modern take on a Strat bridge. Usually these relic ones will have like very vintage bridges, which are kind of a pain to work on. And then the Fender, one of the Fender relic guys just did a relic job. We did a nitro finish on it, so it would break up nice and easy. I know these are polarizing, but I love them. I've always loved a nice relic on Daphne Blue. Yeah, so this is it. I end up rocking this for a lot of the set. This is in drop C, so this is the CGC FAD guitar, and it's just been a pleasure to play on this, to be quite honest. Oh, also, all my guitars always have the lumen lay. Glow-in-the-dark side dots.
Gotta have those.
I like, it's one of those things that like, before you have it, you're like, whatever. And then you get a guitar with them, it's like, this needs to be in all my guitars.
It's like you're blindfolded now.
Yeah, it's just, it's the best, because, you know, you see our light show, it's like, it's not really always gonna give us the best light. No. So like, this stuff we can always count on, you know?
Yeah. What strings are you running on your guitars?
So I'm using the Darrow NY-XLs. I really like those. They don't break. Like straight up don't break.
And you're a hard hitter.
I am. So it's like kind of, and they hold their tuning very well. They're very consistent from pack to pack. We've done kind of scientific experiments with them, like because we're a bunch of nerds. So like they're actually really consistent. So all I need to know is that they work and that they sound great and stay bright for a while, which these do. And I'm using the 11 to 56 set.
Okay, cool.
Which I also use for the A tuning. Probably should throw something thicker on there, but I'm too lazy, so whatever. But yeah, that's this guitar right here.
You got any other guitars you want to show us?
I'll show you one more.
Okay, cool.
Show you one more guitar. This is another one that Jackson put together for this tour. We needed this one very specifically. So obviously this is based off my my regular 7-string signature model. Basswood body on this one. When we do the solid colors, we do cooked basswood, which is actually probably my favorite tone wood.
Why is that?
Cool,
because a lot of people.
Yeah, no. Basswood, can we say shit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Basswood gets a lot of shit, and I think it's so dumb. It gets shit because it's ugly and it's inexpensive to source.
It has a weird name.
And it has a weird name. But the fact of the matter is, I like lightweight woods, for body woods, mated
not like alder
via
ash.
But here's the thing. if you're trying to source it, this is where Jackson and the guitar nerds like really. So they're like, cool. You want a lightweight guitar? That's great. If we want 200, we have to source it. And then if we get it from this part of the country, this alder and ash may be heavier than if we get it from this part of the country because of the moisture content. Yeah. Basswood is consistently light. It's reliable. It's easy to source when you're doing a lot of guitars. It literally just works, right? So really the only thing that people like to fault it for is that it would be found on cheap guitars. But like I think about why my ears are drawn to basswood, and it's like my favorite guitarists like Petrucci, Satch, Guthrie Govan, Vi, all these guys had basswood signature models. You think that's an accident? You know, you think that they just cheaped out and went for the... No, those guys got everything they wanted on their guitars. It's the same thing. It's like, that's what I guess I associate with good tone.
It's your baseline, what you hear.
Yeah, and it's like you get this like spank out of it and crunch because it's lightweight. We keep the paint jobs fairly thin so that they don't choke up. Like that's why like that new signature variant doesn't have a poly finish on it, you know? And why we did nitro on the Strat. Like I like the finish is thin, so you're not having a lot of weight here. You have a very dense neck mated with bolt-on construction, and that's how you get like that sort of spanky tone, and you feel it resonate against you. So again, all this is very deliberate, but this is different in that it's got a Floyd Rose, which I don't normally mess with, and I kind of hate them. But we needed it for a song.
What song?
We have a song called Murder Mouth, and we do this kind of thing. I'll show you. It's kind of fun actually. Because when I was playing around with Floyds back in the day, I noticed that if you pull on an adjacent string to the one that you're playing, you'll lower the pitch of the one you're playing. So for example, right? So we have a riff where it's like, right? So with that, like, we use it kind of like an effect, and like, you know, we've got our dumb light. So, you know, it's just something that's used as an effect, but that we can't really replicate without
it. You're bending those strings.
Yeah, but that's literally how you get it, because it's like sort of like affecting the tension, since this is all tension based. So like that's how you can sort of dance around. It's just a fun, dumb thing, right?
Yeah.
But since we built a song around that, like we kind of need a guitar that can do that. And we're only playing 2 7-string songs on this tour. So the other one being Icarus Lives, and like that doesn't matter, you know. That's a Floyd. So yeah, I mean, and the guitar's held up really well. Like I think the Floyd actually lends itself surprisingly well to tuning stability, at least on this guitar. But yeah, this is something that they put together so that we can actually play that song live.
That's great.
Yeah.
Would you be so kind to maybe, if you want, or else you can use this one, get your the first guitar we saw, and we can walk through your amp and then what else you're running in the rack there?
Sure, absolutely.
Cool. All right, Misha, got your beautiful white head here. Talk to me about how this came about and where it all started and how you got to it being behind you on stage.
So this is the PV Invective. A few years back, actually like 3 or 4 now, PV approached me about sort of collaborating on an amp, and that was like, why would you say no to that? Pro tip, if you ever get approached to design an amp with someone, you say yes. It's the only correct answer. Anyways, so we did this. This started life as a 5150 block letter, which is one of my favorite amps of all time. Yeah. It's actually the model we use on the Axe FX. But I thought there was a lot of things wrong with that amp. I was like, I want to kind of update it with a feature set and even update the sound a little bit to be more appropriate to 2017.
Yeah, what were some of those things you did?
Well, one of the big things, which a lot of people don't realize is a huge part of the amp, is the output transformer. It sounds boring, but like that is such a massive part of the sound. And I got to experiment with all these different things, do like different blind tests, and we basically like refined that to where you just get all this headroom and like this clean output out of it. It just, like the clean on this amp, you won't really be able to tell on camera, unfortunately, but like the clean on this amp like barks at you. You feel it in your chest, like a purely clean amp would, like something like Tosin's Morgan or whatever. You know, it's genuinely incredible clean, and then that lends itself to having a huge sounding rhythm and lead sound, right? Then the feature sets, like aside from it actually having a legitimately amazing clean, which, you know, obviously the 5150 didn't. Yeah. I put in a lot of the features I wish amps had. Like I wish they had always had a master volume, because you can always play between the ratios of the channel volumes and master volumes as a way to shape your tone. I wanted it to have a noise gate that was legitimately powerful. So this noise gate is awesome. It's got a tube screamer style boost that affects the crunch on the lead channels.
And I imagine hits it first?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So this would be like sort of what I would do with pedals on an amp, but it's built in. And then the clean channel has its own overdrive, which is not tube screamer style. That's its own sort of beast, but it sounds amazing. It's actually a really fun sort of push clean thing going on there. The entire amp is MIDI switchable. There's 2 serial effects loops in sequence on the back, also MIDI switchable. The foot switch for the amp is actually a MIDI foot switch. There's power supplies for 2 pedals on the back, so the idea being that if you wanted to plug stuff into the loops, like what I wanted to do was plug my Strymon Timeline and Big Sky into each loop, and basically be able to remote control them and just power them off the amp so they could just sit up here and not on the pedal board, right? Just kind of like stuff that was common sense to me. It's got a MSDI, so if you want to just take the DI out of the amp, let's say you don't have a sound guy or afraid the sound guy at the venue doesn't know how to mic your stuff, you could just give them a DI signal and that'll be good. It's 120 watts, but it can be run at half power for 60 watts if you want to sort of like crunch up the...
Is that just take out some of the power tubes?
Yeah, it's just running on 2 6L6s instead of 4. And yeah, you'll just have less headroom. It'll sort of I find it'll just affect the low end, like how the low end reacts. It'll be a little bit boxier. I prefer running it at full power, but some people like it to sort of run a little bit hotter, you know, obviously.
Did this make it on? I don't know if this was in production yet or available even for you as a prototype tester for like recording on 3. You guys?
It was not. It was not ready. I had a prototype, a very early prototype, but we just ended up using Axe Effects on that one just out of simplicity. But I actually really want to use this on future recordings because it does sound fantastic. Unfortunately here, we're not using this nearly in the capacity you expect, but we are using it in a capacity that I designed it for, which is a power amp for the Axe Effects 2, because I think one of you guys was commenting, and I definitely agree with this, like not all amps take well to modelers, and I was like, I want this to really, really do that well. And again, the output transformer tweaking was a huge, huge part of that. But this does play very, very well with any modeler, really, and that's what we use it for. We use this literally for stage sound because we're going direct out of the Axe Effects. But stage sound's kind of a big thing now for us. Like we used to have like I think the last time we spoke, we had probably a completely dead stage.
Yeah, you had a dead stage in ears.
And that.
What was the change about that?
Actually, the last time that we were on this stage, we were here with Deftones, and Steph showed us his rig, and they have stage sound. Yeah. And I was like, we need to do this. It's pretty funny because it was literally here.
He has like subwoofers. I know that at the
time. He goes even crazier. He goes to a degree that our front of house would basically quit. But we take what we could get, and you know. So here's a trick, guys. If you haven't figured this out, see this master volume starts out here. That's where it starts at sound check. And then as you play the show, you just kind of do one of those and walk away, and he's none the wiser. And then at the end of the night, you're like, I don't know.
Turn it back.
But anyways, don't tell on me. But that's what happens every night. So we'll put that back there for now.
And talk to me about these cabs. Before we started filming, you said that these were cabs specifically not only for this amp, but 2 different variations of cabs.
Yeah, so these are actually designed to work with the head, but these are very unique. Even though they look kind of normal at first look. But first off, they're made of pine, which was not my first choice. I would have gone with birch. I've always gone with birch. Yeah. The engineer who I worked with on this amp, John Fields, is a brilliant, brilliant guy. And he was like, dude, you should try pine. So he made me 3 cabs, and pine won. Like, I didn't think it would, but it won. It was sort of like a nice mix of having like the rich mid-range, which I love. But usually when you have that mid-range that's really rich, you get sort of this like vintagey thing going on, and like it's not super tight like we like. Yeah. This was that sort of middle ground where it was very nice, and it translated very well to 412. Also, speaker-wise, we have a Vintage 30 in here, but we also have a Creamback H, which I think is a beautiful complement to the Vintage 30. The Vintage 30, I think, belongs in every cabinet. Yeah. But it's nice to complement.
It's a standby for sure.
It is, and it's what I think my ears associate with, you know, with metal and rock. It's like the Vintage 30. So the Creamback is a way to sort of complement it. The Creamback is basically like kind of a greenback voicing, but because the Vintage 30 is 60 watts and the Greenback's 25, at volume they break up differently. This is a 75 watt speaker, so it's much more linear in how it breaks up compared to a Vintage 30. So it works very well sort of at every volume, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we have it in an X pattern.
Okay.
On the 412. But yeah, that's basically everything. There's a lot of little features with the amp. Let me see if I forgot something. I think I covered, yeah, pretty much every. Oh, there's a master boost on there, which is also foot switchable. I don't have a foot switch with me as I'm using this in a very limited capacity. We don't need the foot switches.
And so talk to us about how then this is working. Obviously, this is working with the Axe Effects, which is doing most of the heavy lifting.
Yes, we have blue Axe Effects, and the blue ones are better than ones you have. You cannot get the blue ones. We can get the blue ones. Your tone is worse than ours. These are facts. I'm not making this up. See, they're blue anodized, and that makes the tone more vintage and warm and tube-like.
See, I've been after that.
Don't laugh. I'm serious. But no, I mean, like, you know, that's probably the part of the rig that's changed the least since we last spoke. It's always been a mainstay just out of pure convenience. Tosin has a rig with an amp and pedals and all. It sounds amazing, and I really actually want to move to that. But it's going to be a bit of a thing because right now we have such an integrated setup. Like, it's switched by the computer.
Yeah.
We have no pedal boards.
You guys are going like the Meshuggah route where it's to that.
It's just very
it's
just very refined and everything kind of works. It's very easy to troubleshoot.
A well-oiled machine.
And I'm trying to overcomplicate it to get it to sound better, probably just for me, because like I don't know that it'll necessarily translate at 100 dB in a room like this. And that's sort of the battle, but I'm fighting the good fight. So maybe the next time we meet, you'll see my crazy invective pedal rig. But for now, this is the compromise. I'm slowly working my way in. I got the amps on stage.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
It's like, what about Bob? Baby steps.
Exactly.
Well, you know, I don't know how you're able to do this, but you know, like for clean tones, like dude, like the intro to like Stranger Things is a song that I wanted for you to, at least if not play and show us, like at least tell us what's going on in the algorithms within the Axe Effects.
I mean, that's basically, we're not playing Stranger Things on this tour, but here, I'll show you.
Or even any of your other songs that you have clean tones, like Loon.
All right, so for this patch, I'm using the Sir Badger 30 amp. It's just a patch I built on the Axe Effects. I have a delay with modulation going. That's why you get that slight chorusing effect there. But yeah, like that's the beauty of the Axe Effects is like you can just switch stuff like that.
Seamless.
Right, and go from like, you know, a very, very aggressive rhythm tone to a very effective clean just instantly like that.
What about something like with either Marigold or The Price is Wrong or Flatline? Like what would be that for that rhythm? Just bite your head off chunk.
Yeah, for that, again, I'm a big fan of the 5150 block letter, so that's the model I'm using. It's actually a pretty simple patch on here. It's just with a boost. So it's like this aggressive sound, but I also want it to be very rich. You know,
I'm hearing all the strings too. That's a testament to probably everything. But the
it's
pickups,
everything. I'd like to say it's any one thing, but the truth is, if there's any failing at any point, you don't get that. But I'm glad you noticed because that's a very important thing. We use these very sort of big chords.
You're going through the effort to make those chord shapes. I should be able to hear them.
Exactly. You don't want to just get the low strings out of it. So that is part of like the whole concept here.
Yeah.
And that's why I say like these things have become a bit more demanding rather than just getting like a sick, like aggressive rhythm tone. Because we probably could go a little more scoop, but then you'd lose out on that. But still, we want it to be like.
Jen, at some point, there's got to be
head banging. And I mean, like a lot of this is really with the pickups being so dynamic is like your right hand technique. Like for example, if I lay back on the palm mutes, it'll be very musical. If I go tighter on it, Pick really hard. You can pick hard back. So it's letting your right hand sort of be your volume controller, your input gain controller. And that's a big part of how we play, really.
The one last thing I would ask you, and I'd be remiss, is about your precision drive.
Yep.
How is that even included, or is that something you maybe put in through the Axe effects, or how's that?
So because it's kind of difficult to like integrate that into the rig without getting sort of complicated, for the sake of simplicity right now, I'm not fighting that fight, and we're just using what's on the Axe effects. In the studio at home, I use it in front of the Axe effects, obviously. When I have so many amp rigs at home, like that's where it really comes to life. It actually plays very well with the amp because I was designing the two.
Yeah, you had the two of them together.
Yeah, all the time. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, next time we talk, I should be having a pedal rig with this, and then the precision drive. I'll probably have like a couple precision drives.
Probably, yeah, I imagine a couple.
You know, for different scenarios. But yeah, for the time being, that is not on the rig, unfortunately. Well, sad, right?
No, it's not sad at all. Thank you, Misha. Appreciate it. Talk to the rest of the guys.
Thanks for watching, guys.
All right, Jake, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. Good. Hey, Jake from Periphery. Jake, we got some guitars flanking us right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to know about them. Let's start with what your current favorite is.
Well,
if you can choose.
I can't because they're like my kids. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
right?
you know, they're all cool, and you tell every one of them when you have them alone that they're your favorite.
Yeah.
But since they're all here, I'm sorry guys, but you're my favorite. No, I'm just kidding. Right now, I'm having a rekindled love affair with. Well, that's kind of a weird segue because I just called him my kid.
Yeah.
And now I'm okay. Whew. Never mind. Anyways.
Just guitars.
Yeah, just back to guitars. So I recently reached out to my friends at Ibanez. I'm a Ibanez endorsed artist, obviously, since I have like 10 of them up here.
You're talking about how you can't choose them. I'm like, yeah, but they all have your name on them. You know, these are signature guitars.
I'll get to the signature guitars in a minute. I just kind of want to talk about this one because this is actually the first 7-string that I bought when I knew I was going to join Periphery. And back when I bought it, it looked completely different. It had a flame maple top that was kind of like a blue-green, and everything on the back was unfinished. And it had like a black headstock. And it got beat up. It got like totally trashed on tour. Actually, you can't tell because they did such a great job fixing it, but I hit our singer in the mouth with this part, and it hit him right in the teeth, and he basically chipped off this whole bottom part of the headstock. I kept it. I thought I knocked his teeth out. I thought I hurt my singer, and I was really upset. He went to the bathroom, made sure his this is while we were playing, went to the bathroom, checked his teeth, they were still there. We continued the show with blood pouring out of his mouth. Anyway, so this guitar has some serious history. So anyways, I've been really loving this pearlescent white finish. So I'm like, you know what, do the whole guitar like that, leave the hardware the same, and put in my my signature DiMarzio Titan pickups. And this is what they sent me back, and it is awesome. I really love this guitar, and it plays like I just bought it from the store brand new.
Did they have the controls this way? Like, I've never really seen that one, and also with the recessed.
Yeah, this is I think this is the low TRS bridge. I'm a bit ignorant on the older Ibanez hardware. Oh yeah, it is. It says it right there.
Boom.
Yeah, usually the 5-way switches don't have this sheath or whatever you want to call it on there. And it's got a tone knob, which, as you'll notice, a lot of my guitars
You're not a tone guy. You're a tone guy, but not a tone knob guy.
You know, the tone knob always gets rolled off when I'm playing, and I don't notice until I'm like, man, my tone kind of is weird, and then I'm like, oh, it's the damn tone knob. But anyways, what's kind of another interesting fact about this guitar is that it's the only guitar that has a floating bridge that's actually floating. All these other guitars are locked.
Okay.
Because I just like using the fine tuners, but we're playing a song called Motor Mouth, which is off of our latest album, and it requires a floating bridge to pull off some of the techniques in it. I
see that you have almost all the springs in there. Is that?
I do.
I mean, some people, they only go with 2 or the 2 or 3 technique. You got
the reason why I do the 4 springs is because the tension with the tuning to drop A flat. I need a little bit more counter tension. I think that's what it's called. But anyways, the whole purpose, I'll just demonstrate real quick, is is this technique right here. Turn that down a little bit, sorry. But anyways, what the idea behind the technique is to get the low string to detune by pulling down on these other strings. So we kind of do that, and we also do a couple little.
Are all three of you guys doing that?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like it takes a little bit to get right because it's pretty choreographed.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. Anyway, so that's my main 7-string that I'm using on this tour. And I believe the model, I always get crap for this online because I forget what model it was. It used to say on the back, but they covered it up.
They covered it up.
But I believe it's an S7420. So if you search for that, you can kind of see what the original one looked
the kids on the internet gotta give you a little bit of leeway with the Ibanez. I love Ibanez, you guys are great, but your model names are weird.
Yeah,
like it's just straight numbers and letters, like it's a Dewey Decimal System.
Exactly. You need to have passed calculus to be able to recognize your favorite guitar. And then real quick, I'll go over my main signature model is the JBM 100. And what's interesting about this is that it's a one-off. Normally the JBM 100 looks kind of like this, which it's a matte black.
Yeah, hold it up for you.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Let's get kind of like an inverted look, and they did a matte white and has a bit of the same pearlescent sheen that this one has. If you get a close look on it, kind of this like a graphite, and this is more like a pearl. But anyways, they're essentially the same exact guitar, and this one was made in Japan, and this one was made in the LA custom shop. So. Generally, if you were to go get this guitar in the store, it would look like this.
And what like tone woods are you? Also a basswood with maple cap, or how's that? What are we looking at?
You know, I've been experimenting a little bit. All my guitars pretty much are a mahogany body with a maple top, and it's a bit on the heavy side. You know, and I prefer like a darker sounding guitar, and I feel like I get that out of the mahogany, just because. When you're playing live and you're playing through an amp head and stuff, you kind of get more brighter tones just in general, and I kind of wanted to counteract that with a darker wood as best as I could without having to EQ a lot. So, and it's not really something you can even EQ, it's just like a flavor thing. It's a very subtle taste thing. So I think I'm going to be experimenting with lighter woods in the future, but the production models have mahogany body, maple top, ebony fretboard, and I believe now the new ones are coming with a five-piece Babinga maple neck, where like I guess like the first 100 JBM 100s were 3-piece. So that's really the only difference.
Have you ever thought about dabbling in like natural finishes so you can show off that 5-piece neck? Or
yeah, I have. Paint? I do like the feeling of like the satin or matte. Just while I'm playing, because it just gives me a good like grip that I kind of enjoy. But I have a couple of natural finish necks at home, and I may get a little experimental with future custom shop models that I intend on building. So that's kind of like, these are like my main 6 strings. Another little interesting tidbit about this one is that this is a prototype. In fact, I don't even know if I'm allowed to show this, but
too late.
Too late. And it looks so much like the other one that you can tell the difference. But this is a Indonesian-made Ibanez as opposed to the Japanese-made, and this is a bit of a more of affordable option. So if you're looking for the aesthetic and even the playability, the Ibanez offers a more affordable option, and it's a great guitar. I actually use this one every night, and I've been playing a lot of the drop A stuff on it. It's an alder body. Oh wait, no. I think this prototype is basswood, but it could be alder because I remember there was a bit of confusion on what this was. But I'm going with alder.
It's all right.
So they're aesthetically the same pickups. A fixed bridge, and I believe that this is a painted wood. Right now, there's a bit of a controversy with rosewood.
Yeah,
so
there's some problems.
They used to have a rosewood neck, like and this is the JBM 20, and there's a JBM 20 and a 27, and they used to have rosewood necks. Now they're using a different wood, and unfortunately, I'm ignorant to what this wood is. They painted it black for me to match the other guitars, or dyed it black. Anyways, it's a great guitar, and I hope to be releasing it soon. I know that I've gotten a lot of feedback about the matte white, and I expect to see this to be able to purchase this soon.
Have you noticed anything? I know most of your guitars, the signatures have the reverse headstock or the reverse tuners, but this your old one, have you noticed anything different when you're playing the differences with the string tension or having tuning, or just,
I guess
there has to be some science there.
I guess, yeah, I guess like there is subtle differences in terms of like scale, from a scale perspective, but since I lock the nut, I don't really notice it. I think the thing that I notice the most is if I do have this unlocked, my tendency to go for the furthest tuning peg to tune the lowest string is it's switched around. So like I always have to like catch myself. Yeah. So that's really the only weird thing about it. But it is interesting going back to a traditional Ibanez headstock. But I do my favorite ones are the reverse ones. I actually have a custom shop 8-string that's done in this aesthetic, this black and gold aesthetic, with I think it was their first reverse 8-string headstock. So I don't have it on tour with me because we're not playing any 8-string stuff on this tour, but it's a cool little thing that I posted pictures of it on my social media. And then
I have one more question with relation to your DiMarzio Titans and the overall sound of the band. What do you see your role in the band being in terms of sonically and tonally? Because you have 3 guitar players. Yeah. You guys do lock in and play, with each other, but there are points where you're all 3 doing different things. So, knowing not only what you're writing and playing, but also tonally, how were you designing the humbucker to get what you needed to fit where you needed to be within the band?
That's a great question, and you're absolutely right. I think like we try to utilize the 3 guitar player thing to the best we possibly can, because a lot of times it can be superfluous where everybody's playing the same thing, and we try not to do that. We try to compose in a way where we're utilizing all 3 instruments in a very specific way. And I guess like the default state of how we play live is I'm in the center, I'm coming out of both sides of the PA, and Mark and Misha are on the wings. So generally when there's a lead, or if there's an ambient piece, or even like a solo, I generally take it just because I'm coming out of both speakers, and sonically it makes the most sense. There are instances where that changes, and we actually have automation programmed into our, we have a show computer where that it controls our patch changes, and it also controls front of house where it'll pan us to where we need to be. And we sat down with our sound guy and figured out those cues, and as the show is going on, as our show file is going on, it's triggering these changes. So it's cool because like now that kind of freed us up from me just being like the guy that's just in the center playing the clean parts or the lead parts. Like everybody can have that role now, and that's kind of, especially when we write, we're writing for all these different parts. So generally we want to play the parts that we write rather than like having somebody else play them. So that way with this system everybody can play the parts they want to play live. Yeah.
It's rad. And then specifically, what were you looking for that, I'm sure you were a DiMarzio guy before. Yeah. So whether it was Steve or anyone else at DiMarzio, what were you needing from them to give you for the Titan?
I'm glad you mentioned Steve. He's
the guy that everyone names drops when they work with DiMarzio.
Yeah, their whole team is great. But when we designed the Titan, I worked with Steve on that, Steve Blucher, and he has a very interesting approach, because I thought it was going to be like a lot of back and forth of like testing things out, and what happened was he's like, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to send me 3 guitar tracks from your album of like a rhythm tone that you really like, a clean tone you really like, and your lead patch. And so I sent him a solo I sent him some clean stuff from a song called Luck is a Constant, and I sent him some rhythm tracks from maybe The Gods Must Be Crazy or something like that. Just something where I play a lot of rhythm. And literally, like a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks, I get a box in the mail, and in the box is what ended up being pretty much the final version of the pickup. He just nailed it right out of the gate. And I'm pretty picky, and it just kind of was a relief to get that so quickly. It was just turned around, and the pickup sounded beautiful. I made like one little like EQ tweak, just a note, and he sent me another set, and it was done, and we were ready to go. So it was such a breeze to develop like such a serious part of my sound.
Yeah. Do you remember the EQ tweak?
It was there's a bit of a harsher high end when the pickups are hot, and my pickups are pretty hot.
Yeah.
So I asked him to dial this high end frequency out a little bit, and he figured out how to do that, and they came out great. They came out beautifully. Yeah.
Man, Misha went over pretty much all your guys' changes with the PV and the fractal. I guess the last questions I got for you is strings and picks, if those matter to you.
Yeah, I use Diodario NYXL strings. The 6-string guitars use an 11 to 56 pack, and the 7-string guitars use an 11 to 64 pack. And you can get them at any music store, and they're great strings. They stay bright for a really long time. As far as picks, I use these Tortex 0.88 millimeter. They're like a Jazz 3 shape. I don't know how well you can see that from over here,
but pretty small, the small ones.
But nice and small. It's the other guys use like more traditional shape picks, but I can't get away from that Jazz 3 style. I think it's like an old school shredder thing.
And you like the sharp too, like where it comes to a real fine point.
Yeah. I just there's just enough give to it where it's like not. I feel like when we were all using really heavy picks. The thickness of it or how heavy it was would send the string out of tune a bit more. So this just offers just slightly more consistency. Out of the three of us, I picked the lightest. So this just seems to be my pick of choice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jake, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Talk to Mark.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least, definitely not least, Mark. Mark, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. I'm gonna do a last minute or after the fact, congratulations as a Cubs fan,
You're a year late, but you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. It was a rough year, but I still have last year.
Yeah, man. 2016, we got the banner to prove it.
That's right.
All right.
So right.
Want to acknowledge the Blackhawks, because go Preds. That all being said, dude, let's talk about this beautiful guitar.
Yeah,
this is not a PRS, although we have them down here.
Yeah,
we'll get to those in a bit.
We have quite a couple PRSs here, as you can see. I've got even more of an Army side stage of the SEs that I typically take out for my 6 strings, but my one predicament for this tour was that I needed a long scale 7-string, so something at least 26.5 inches that had a Floyd on it, so we could play the song Motor Mouth. Yeah. Just for one song. It's I don't know why we do this.
Such a guitar guy thing to have to bring out a guitar just for one song.
It's so dumb, and I don't want to do it again. But no, all joking aside, I asked PRS to do it. And they said we can do it, but it would take us a long time. And I think I asked them with maybe 2 months or 3 months to spare, which that's not realistically enough time to have that guitar turn around in time. So I asked my friends at this company called Aristides. They're from the Netherlands, and they're lovely people. And they were kind enough to build this guitar pretty much on the fly. They turned it around really quickly, and they just sent it to my place. And
it's beautiful.
And man, I agree. And I wanted something that looked very loud, because my stage right buddy, Jake, he's got the white guitars and black guitars, so he's got the stealth look on Lockdown. I wanted to make him look annoying by proxy by having it just looks like Prince's Wet Dream.
Yeah.
And they nailed it. I wanted something sort of like that walked the line between classy and like audacious.
Did you give them any cues other than you needed the 7-string with the Floyd Rose, or is there anything that like visually that you needed?
I asked them what's a loud record. I want it to just look annoying and obnoxious, and they were just like, let's go bright purple with gold, sparkle.
Yeah.
And then when I got it, I looked at it. I was like, this is way classier than I thought it was gonna look. And it just kind of does scream class, despite the kind of bombastic color scheme.
Yeah.
But, man, it's a pleasure to play every night. It really is. Yeah.
And the thing you were talking to us about off camera, if people aren't hip to this company, is that their specialty or their kind of MO is not really using wood at all.
Right. So that is like you said, that's their calling card. And so there's no wood whatsoever on the guitar. Fretboard, body, no wood. It's made of a composite material called Richlite. which that's sort of somewhat of a thing for them. They make all their guitars with the same composite material. The fretboard is, the body is made of arium.
Yeah.
Arium, and the fretboard is made of Richlite, so I reversed that. But because of that, and I don't know if this is 100% because of that, but this guitar is just insanely stable. Change in temperatures, I've flown with it and I pick it up, it's in tune, the neck has not warped, the setup does not feel any different, and it's just the most reliable, consistent, stable guitar you can imagine. And for having a Floyd, which can be fickle in its own right,
absolutely.
That's invaluable. So yeah, it's tremendous, man. I really love the guitar. I got the 7-string Seymour Duncan Alpha Omegas, my signature set in there. Got the Floyd, like I said.
Is there anything that you're doing or you're requesting for the 7-string based off the 6-string models that were already there? I mean, obviously you have to have the extra magnets and the pole pieces for the 7-string, but...
I mean, we spent a lot of time dialing in each set when we developed the pickups years ago. We kind of wanted the same tonal characteristics for both, but just by nature of adding an extra string on the guitar, you're going to want to fine-tune some of the EQ across the pickups. So yeah, we spent a considerable amount of time making sure that the 7-string was basically just an extension of what we developed with the 6-string Alpha Omega.
So yeah, it wasn't just them just creating a larger pickup.
No.
Brainchild.
No, I mean, I think that may be the inclination for people to do is save money, cut corners, but anybody who knows, who's sort of developed pickups and been behind the scenes know that you have to sort of put in the extra work to make it work with a different instrument, because it is a different instrument,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I picked up this guitar earlier, and it was quite light too. That was another thing that was a benefit of it. I imagine the 7-string, 7-string wooded guitar is gonna be a lot heavier.
Super lightweight, super light. This is one of the weirdest looking things about it. This enormous backplate. I feel like I'm changing a diaper every time I open it up. Not that there's feces back there or anything.
What are you trying to say? Well, that's a perfect segue. Feces in the back of the guitar to move on to the next one.
Yeah. So these two are part of my, I guess, armada of SE models that I bring on tour.
I don't know what PRS calls it, but I love what I would call a charcoal burst.
Yeah,
a silver burst type of thing.
We developed this unique color like 5 years ago with PRS, and online I noticed it took on the nickname of Brisket Burst.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't it? Yeah. Do you see it?
Yeah.
You see it a little bit? Smoke rings and everything?
Yeah, right on the edges.
Yeah. And the color is just something that stuck and people seem to really like it. But no, this is the 2017 SE model that they released based off of the 2016 model. And
was there any changes or upgrades or things
They changed the headstock, just a simple aesthetic thing. They added the Paul Reed Smith logo. But both of these guitars are based off of the 2015 6-string core model that we put out, the Maryland Maine model, which had the same 25.5-inch scale length, had a flat 20-inch radius on the fretboard, had the Alpha Omega pickups in it, fixed bridge, string through body. Yeah, it's pretty much all the same appointments that made the guitar so unique in the first place, but cutting away the figured body, cutting away the carved top and all the sort of aesthetic appointments that made the guitar, I think $3,800 retail, and this is $900.
Yeah.
And I use it every night for all my 6-string stuff, and it blows me away on a nightly basis because a $900 guitar shouldn't play this well. It's kind of wrong.
Yeah. And I know on the last episode we did, 2015, 2014, you were using DiMarzio before the Alpha Omega came out. How did that, not relationship end, but how did you come to Seymour Duncan and develop these ones, the Alpha Omega with them?
It really started with a buddy of mine named Keith Marrow, who Keith is an amazing songwriter and producer and engineer, but he's a good friend of mine. He asked, he was working at Seymour Duncan at the time, and he asked, would you ever want to come out and build a set of pickups with me, and we'll make it sound really killer. And he and I both happen to have similar tastes in pickups and tone. And I went out to the Duncan headquarters in Santa Barbara, and then we just built a really awesome set of pickups over a couple days there in Santa Barbara. And then it was really hard to imagine playing anything else once we built that set of pickups. I was like, okay, I found my bread and butter. I found the sort of nexus of my tone, and it's just been a game changer. I have not even thought of using any other pickups since we developed them. So it was more born out of just we developed something cool.
Yeah.
Let's roll with it. You know,
Your friend call you up?
Yeah. It wasn't a conscious decision to be like, oh, I'm unhappy or I need a change.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like that. Like the pickups I was playing before were awesome, but you know, fluky things happen in life. And when your friend calls you and says, hey, let's customize a set of pickups and let's build them, let's make them killer.
Misha said that. He said if anyone ever asked you to develop an idea or a product for geared guitar or guitar companies, always just say yes.
Just do it.
Just because you never know what it's going to lead to.
It could be great, it could suck, but if it sucks, at least you say you did it.
At least you know what sucks now.
Yeah, exactly.
And a similar question, how did you end up in the PRS camp? Because again, we talked off camera where maybe we don't necessarily, and they're changing that mindset, but you don't think of PRS as being a heavy company.
Yeah.
You think of other names, you know, Santana, Mark Tremonti, who does heavy rock, but you guys between Barrett and me are really flying the PRS metal flag.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that?
Let's see. I was invited along with Misha, and I think Jake came too. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. They were developing the Archon amp. It's sort of their high gain. Their take on like a metal, like a 5150 style high gain amp. And my interest was piqued. So we went down to the factory since we were local at the time, and we checked out the amp, hung out with Paul for a little while. I got to sort of develop a friendship with him. And then a couple months later, we went to NAMM. Paul was there, and we were just talking about guitars. Just really casual, off the cuff, no pressure conversation about guitars. And then we touched on the topic of, hey, what would happen if, you know, we built a guitar? And then, again, sort of like the pickup sit thing. It's just, you don't see it coming. I thought to myself, it's like, if I don't say yes to Paul Reed Smith, I'm an idiot. So I should say yes. And then I did. And what they built, seriously, the first prototype was what we ended up releasing as a signature guitar. So they nailed it. And for me, sort of flying the PRS metal flag, like you said, is a great source of pride.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people really think of metal when they hear the term PRS, and for me, it works in such a harmonious way that I can't believe that it's not mentioned more at the forefront of like a metal guitar conversation. You know, and I hope that's changing. I think it's changing because I have an 8-string now. We got the 7 over there. We got a bunch of 6s. Well, got to change the world.
Hell yeah.
Little by little. Yeah.
One string at a time.
One string at a time. That's a new PRS motto right there.
Are you set up the same way with Misha and Jake in terms of strings? They're doing the NXYL from Diodario 11s?
So, exactly. I use 11 to 56 NYXL's Diodario on my 7.
I'll bring
and
this up.
This will be a little segue here. On my 7, I run a 10 to 52 set, a 6-string set, and as the 7th string, I use a 64. And I've gone lighter at times, but we wrote the song called Ragnarok 6 years ago, where we tune the 7th string down to F sharp, I believe. Ooh. And so I just got in the habit of using a thicker 7th string. And we don't really play that song much anymore, but I still use the 64. I just like the feel of a thicker 7th string. Yeah, so. We pretty much run the same setup string-wise across the board.
And then also, just to clarify, also on Jake's behalf, is that you guys are also running the Invictive PV with
Misha and Jake run those.
Okay, yeah. So where's your difference at?
So I don't use the PV Invectives. I use a really cool unit that Seymour Duncan built called the Power Stage 700. And again, that was just, they told me last year they were working on a power amp. And I said, what? Seymour Duncan's making a power amp?
Yeah.
And they said it's a power amp specifically meant for guitar players. And I had used power amps in the past that, for one reason or another, didn't really feel like it was meant for this context. I was just using it because I needed something to power my cab.
And it technically worked.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And when I got it, the first thing I noticed, I was like, this feels like an extension of this tone that I built. Because like, when we build guitar tones on the Fractal, it's a painstaking, laborious process. We're spending weeks dialing this stuff in, and we tweak it on a nightly basis too. So I wanted something to sort of like, to be suited towards what we were doing, but also just make it sound bigger, make it sound a little bit more human and breathe more on stage. So I use the Seymour Duncan 700, or the Power Stage 700, and it just takes up 1 rack space And
yeah, real small. And then they make like a 300 or 350 or something like that. It's like a little pedal square box.
Yeah, which is the 700's just a higher end take on that. But it's killer, man. I love it. I was telling someone this earlier. It's like I've never been more happy with my live tone. Over the years, there's always been variables that I wish I could tweak because of some limitation of what I had in my possession or some limitation of the gear. But I finally feel like now, 2017, I'm happy. I'm happy. I found serenity.
You're done.
I retire. Throw in the towel. So this is the unicorn of my collection. It's the only long scale 7-string I think PRS has ever made.
Man.
I think they may have made one back in the day for another artist, but 26.5-inch scale length, which they had never done.
Fit a few more extra birds in there then with that.
Yeah. I want to put like an ostrich right here, you know, on the last one.
Yeah.
No, but this thing, man, I've had this for about 5 years now. It's been through hundreds of flights at this point. So it's beat up pretty badly, but it's my main 7. I use the Aries GDs for Motor Mouth in the live set, but I use this for all the other 7-string songs. And it's just a beast, man. It's the best 7-string I've ever played, hands down, in my life. And it's so rare that I don't want to leave home with it, you know, but I have no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing guitar. It's got the same Alpha Omega 7-string set in there, Hipshot hardware, which I added, but kind of the same, you know, it's just an extension of the 6 strings, you know. You'll notice that a lot of the specs and appointments kind of outline what we had going on the 6 string, so.
Mark, beautiful guitars, appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Dude, appreciate it, thank you very much.
My pleasure, man, anytime.
Everyone, this is Chris Keys for Premier Guitar, another Rig Rundown.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to sign up for PG Perks, your all-access pass to exclusive gear giveaways and discounts on PremierGuitar.com.